Alright, so welcome to lesson 2. Now, so from here now, I'm going to create a new page. So file, new, or use your Control N. I'm going to have it save first. Save as, and I'm going to save this as lesson 2. Lesson 2, and I'll make this HTML. My page is HTML page, and I can save that. Now I haven't saved that. Earlier on in lesson 1 I introduced us to the HTML structures and all of that. So what I'm going to just do now here is just type HTML and I'll pick this HTML5. Alright, and then it's just going to help me put in all the structures that we type in ourselves the first time, plus some more metadata that I told us would usually have in the head sections of the page. Alright, so let me do it once more so you have a trick of, or you can just revise. So let me do this one more. HTML, then you can just pick this 5 and you have it there. So if in the event that your own editor is not giving you this same result, it's simply because you don't have the HTML5 extension. So if you don't have the HTML5 extension installed, you can just simply go into the view. If you go into the view tab, and you have these extensions, so you can use a keyboard shortcut Ctrl Shift X. So if you click on this extension, for instance, so you're gonna have all the so you have the extension pane here. Alright, so you can just search for HTML 5, for instance. You can say HTML5 extension. So you can install any of them, HTML5, HTML snippets, and a whole lot. So what I have installed is the one that has something else. This is what I have installed. I have quick start HTML5 snippets for jQuery, so you can pick the same extension. You can pick any of those extensions, and at least it's going to make life easier for you. I already introduced us to writing the structure ourselves before, so and this is just going to make life easy for us. So IntelliSense and all of that will be handy. Now, so let me explain a couple of things that were not in the earlier code that we wrote ourselves in lesson 1. So we noticed that in lesson 1 we only wrote language. There was HTML. There wasn't anything like language equals to en. So what this is I told us about something we call attributes. So we can have language equals to en. This means my content will be in English language. My content will be the English language. Apart from the code, HTML codes that we're writing, my contents will be in English language. So if your content is going to be in another language, then you have to find your short form of the language you're writing, and you have that there, like Arabic AR, like France FR, French FR, like that. So this is English, so it tells the page about the my contents language, so it's going to be in English language. And the second thing that we have here is a metadata that is telling our page that is HTML, and the character set for the HTML is what? UTF-8. That's the encoding standard of HTML, is UTF-8. Alright, so we noticed that earlier on, even if we don't put it there, and everything still works fine, but this is to further help the browser to to know more about our page. So we're telling him that, okay, we're telling the browser our character set is UTF-8. Alright, so there are a couple of other character sets like ASCII standard, Unicode, and all of that. So use Unicode transformation format, format 8, and the 8 means it's going to be represented in 8-bit. So I don't want to bore you with all those details because they are not really necessary for now. So but this is telling our page, is a metadata, we call it a meta tag, telling the browsers about the contents of HTML being UTF-8 standard. And then this is really one of those very good features of HTML5, where you have responsiveness. Alright, even this one came along with HTML5. This is not how we used to write character sets before. Alright, so you have meta tag. This is still a meta tag. Name equals the viewport. This has to do with responsiveness. Okay, so this will make our content to respond to viewport. So whether someone is viewing it from a desktop, from a mobile, or from a tablet, so the content is going to be resizing itself and fitting into the content. That's why you say you have name of this meta tag is viewport, and the content will be the device width, which is the content will be equals to the device width. It's not going to overflow beyond the device width, and the initial scale will remain one, that's 100%. So what that means is you're going to be having the same feel and the same look and feel that you have on the desktop. As far as the content is concerned, you would be able to read them the same way you were able to read it on the desktop. So you're able to read on mobile the same way you're able to read it on the desktop. So this is what the initial scaling is all about. So pretty much most every single page that you're writing, you want it to be responsive, because these days is mobile first. You know, a lot of people use mobiles, and most people will be using mobile to access your web. All right, so the next thing that we have is the HTTP equivalent. So this is this tends to eradicate or remove the pains of having to be compliant with all Internet Explorers. So you know, developers over time have had to deal with the pains of Internet Explorer incompatibility. So if you're writing your code, most of the times it doesn't really work well on Internet Explorer, especially the old version. Okay, so this page is trying to tell it to, you know, when you're on Internet Explorer, the old version, and probably the code that you want to run doesn't, you know, it's not going to work well. So behave as if you're on Edge, you know. So just render is as if you're on Edge. So Edge is one of those browsers I showed us earlier. That's Microsoft Edge. You know, that's the latest internet Microsoft browser, which is, you know, compliant with the modern developments. So the earlier version is, you know, what we call very bad. Okay, so this tag is here to help us, you know, remove those pains, so we can, you know, we can continue to work and without having to worry so much. We still have to do some worry though, but without having to worry so much about the earlier version of Internet Explorer. So to make it a bit compatible, rendering it as if it was on Edge. So you could say render it as IE8, render it as IE9, render it as ID. So so that those are couple of options. And now, you know, by default, because these codes were generated for me, by default it gave it a document heading. So I'm going to change it to lesson 2. Lesson 2, I have that saved. Then I can go ahead. This is the first page that we're working with. So I can, so if I go to my desk, so I can see what we have, or I can, let me open the lesson 2 from here. So this is the one we worked with earlier, and this is the second one. So like this. Now it's still pretty much empty because there's no content in it. Alright, so the next thing I want to have is learn some more formatting. We learned some in lesson 1, so we want to learn a bit more of the formatting. So let's say I have this as H1. I explained that earlier on. So let's say this is lesson 2. Alright, now so in after this, then I have, let's say I have a paragraph. I say this is I say lesson 2 is about formatting. Alright, so it's about formatting. Okay, now so if I have that saved, this is not strange if you followed we have followed word in the first lesson. Alright, so now what I want is, if I want these two to be distinct in a way, I want it to be bold I don't want it to, I want to emphasize either lesson or lesson 2. So I want it to be distinct. So if I come in here and I refresh this, so I can see this lesson 2, that's the header, and then this one is showing like that. Now if I need to bold this 2, for instance, alright, I need it to be distinct from the rest. What do I have? Do I come in here and make this heading? So if I come in here and make this heading, it will make it go, this one will move to the next line and this one will move to the next line. So that's not an option. So what I have to do would be to use some sort of other formatting, and that is what we call a B tag. A B tag is a bold. That's what we call the bold. The B tag will bold in these 2 right now. So if we have it like that, so we can see the 2 is a bit bold compared to the rest. So let me go ahead and maybe increase the font size of my content, so we can style equals to, remember, so we say font size is now I would explain some of these things. I'm going to be using pixel, but if you want to use percentage, 100% is the default font. Okay, 100% is the default font, and the default font, like I said, is 16 pixel. So if I come in here and I say all content should be like 30 pixel, so save that. Now if I have this, so this is a it's bigger now, it's not new, so I can feel that boldness even more now. So the 2 is bolder now. Alright, so that's some more formatting. If you like, you can have it broken into space, so you can have it like, but it doesn't matter. This is just for clarity, so you can fill it more, but if you want, you can leave it the way it was. So this is the 2 that we are trying to bold. So there is equally a font called strong. Okay, so strong work pretty much like a bold as well, but with the sense of importance, like something is a bit important, so they operate much the same way. Let me have it like this. Let's say I want to bold in formatting as well. So I don't want to use this. This is attaching some sort of importance to formatting. So if I do that, so I can have it like that. So this is lesson 2, is about formatting. So you see there is no big difference between the bold and the strong, but this strong attaches what we call importance to the boldness of this. So if it's been decoded, the page, the browser attaches some sort of importance to this more than this. All right, so but you see that they appear pretty much the same way. So if I need to bold a word or a sentence or a paragraph, all I need to do is just wrap them inside the B tag, or I wrap them into the strong tag, and they get bold. Alright, so the next thing I want us to look at is underline. Underline, pretty much, let's say I want to underline this lesson 2. So this is okay, right? So but I still want it underlined. Okay, so to underline, there's what we call a U tag. A U tag is the underline. Alright, so notice this, if I write a U here, I have to find a way to close this U. Okay, this is what we call the nested tag. We've been using nested tag without noticing it. This is equally a nested tag. In fact, all the content of a body are equally nested as well. So if you look at it this way, I just need you to pay attention right now. So if you look at it this way, this is U that is open here. Each one is open here. Where am I going to have this U closed? Here. If I put it here, let's say I have this U closed here, right? it will still work, but this is bad. This is going to be a bad code. If you look at it like that, you see it still underlines it, but this is not following the rule. And this is part of the HTML bad coding I was telling us earlier on. So this is going to fail some sort of validation. Okay, so the right way to close nested tags is the first one that get opened, he will be the last to close, so it becomes like a container, and this becomes like its content. Alright, that's what we've been doing since, without actually paying attention to it. Okay, so, and there's no rule that says use has to come before h1 or h1 has to come before you. So if you do this now like this, what it then means is that this one is going to, yes, like this. So we have Ctrl X like this. So we'll have it this way: h1 first and h1 get closed last. So it will still work the same way, and it's still very much correct. Okay, so let me point at your attention to what we've been doing since. You notice that head is like, when the HTML opens here, it closes last, because all these contents are contents of what? HTML. So we don't want to open HTML and close it immediately or something like that. You notice that we have to close it last. The same thing happens to head. So when head get opened, it got closed here. So in between the head tag, you have the content of the head tag, meta tags, which is just a single tag, and title tag opens and closes with its content before the head finally closes. And this is the same format we followed here. So if we look at the body as well, so body opens here and closes here. Body has some sort of content. So body had h1, and then inside h1 you have u. So u is a content of h1. Alright, so it got opened and got closed, and then paragraph, so and so on and so forth. So it's just to let you know a bit more about the next thing. So the one that got opened first will be the one to close last. Okay, right. So once we have that, we can have our u, that is our underline. So another thing I want to point towards is italic. If I want to make something to appear in italics. Okay, so let's say I have something like this. I'll just have lorem ipsum. We might have seen something. This is just a dummy content, so it saves me from typing. So if I have this, Ctrl S, I have this on this page, so I can have lesson 2. Lesson 2 is about formatting. Alright, so, and I have some more contents that are written here. Now, in this lorem ipsum, so let's say I want to make this ipsum dollar. I want it to be in italic. I want it to be in italic. So I will be using high tag. I'll be using high tag for the italic, pretty much like we use B for the bold tag, or we can use strong to attach more importance, U for the underline, and then I can use high for the italic. So once I have this like that, I can have it here this way. So have it saved that way, and then refresh. So we can see that lorem ipsum dollar is now being italicized, and this is how you want to put anything in italics, like that. So high ipsum, and then you have it like that. So you can go ahead and do some more italics. So that's how we do italics. Another thing I want us to look at is emphasize. Alright, so emphasize is pretty much like I too. It means we're placing emphasis on something. Alright, and that's why sometimes we want to make it like this. So let's see how emphasis also works. Is similar. So let's say I want to make this this one. I want to emphasize this. So I want to emphasize that. I will just use em. Em is, that's the emphasis tag. So I can have that, and then I have this close here. So it means I'm emphasizing this content. Alright, So if I come in there and refresh it, so I can see that if some dollars says this thing is italic, and then this one is being emphasized. So the emphasis and the italics appear pretty much the same way, similar to how bold and stroke equally appears. All right. So the emphasis attach a bit more of importance than this, just like strong attaches a bit more of importance than this, but in appearance they are just pretty much the same. Okay, so the next thing I want us to look at is a mark. You know, let's say I want to show something like, as if, when you're reading a textbook, if you're a good reader, and then you have a place you want to maybe look up later on, or something that you feel you like, or you want to make a reference to it, so you want to put some mark on it without having to struggle each time you come back to it. So you want to put a mark on it. So in HTML we call it mark. Okay, so let's say I want to put a mark on something here. I'll just go anywhere. Let me break this down so to make it a lot. So to mark is you can guess it. It's not M, is mark. So I want to mark this. So I'm going to be showing us the smart way of writing all of this later on. So we have mark. This got marked, and then if I look at it like that, so I can see something like this. This is not a background color of some sort. It's just a kind of paint around that text. You know what I mean? When you're reading, you just want to mark it. So this is what this mark means. So if you want to point your user's attention to something on your page, and you want it to be distinct, and you want to show some creativity, you might want to. So whoever says this, they see it as a mark, and there's a web browser decodes what a mark is, and like that. So this is it, a mark like that. So you use this based on the kind of content you're working with. But later on you will see that most of all these things, by the time we start putting them together, some of them you might even never use them on a particular website, but it's important that to know. So just in case the kind of content that you're building requires you to use some of this stuff, like mark and all of those things, then you can use. And there's another thing I want us to look at is small. There's a tag called small. All right. So the small tag is if I want something to appear smaller, than the pool of the rest. So I just want it to be smaller. All right. So I have an option. I can just go around something around it and change its font style, and then change its own size to smaller, and then it's going to work. But I don't have to struggle like that. It's similar to, I can come here and give this a background and give it whatever background, but I don't have to do that. With HTML5 I'm fully covered. So if I want something to be smaller, let's say here, this lesson 2, after this lesson 2, or here, come in here and say small. So small is used to write a small text. I say this is a small text. Okay, so this is a small text, and then if I refresh, now you notice that this is smaller in size compared to its folk. Alright, so let me make this one as well smaller, so you can probably notice that. So let me have this smaller. So something like that. So just watch, look at its font size right now. and then when you reduce it, so it's a bit smaller to the rest. So sometimes you have these requirements. We're going to be building a full-blown website later on, so um, putting everything together, so you will see how some of these things come to play. Alright, so this is a smaller text that's compared to other ones, so you have other ways of getting that. So another thing I want us to look at, another tag I want us to look at in formatting, is what we call deleted. Okay, is what we call uh, deleted text. Okay, alright, so if for instance I want to without having to delete this content, I just want to show that it's no longer valid, so but I still want it on this page, so I can cross it. So how do I cross like that? Underline won't work. So you must have seen this on e-commerce websites where they have the whole price being crossed, and then you have a new price beside it. They could easily have removed that entirely and put a new there, but they want to let you know that it used to be this, but this is no longer valid, but this is the new one. Alright, so you have that deleted text right there. So let's see how deleted text is work. So keep guessing what the listing will be. So it's not deleted, is del. Alright, so del is for the deleted text. So I hope the right way to follow this through is follow me as I'm typing. You guys should equally follow through and get your hands dirty while keeping notes by the size of all these tags like here, so you can, for your reference. So you have that, so you can see how deleted works. So you can see something is written, it's showing quite well, people can read it, but then it's crossed through, so it means it's no longer valid. So here's an updated version. So that is deleted. And we equally have inserted. Inserted, it wasn't there before and is now here now. So I can have inserted is this ins inserted. This is an inserted text. Okay, so I have that saved. Now I haven't saved that, so I can see that. So it shows that this guy was not there before and is now there now. So this is how inserted text would show. Alright, so let me go in there and make another thing inserted. So I want this one to be inserted. So I have inserted. Alright, so I can move this backward. Like this. Alright, so this is inserted, so you can see that it pretty much appears like this one, and essentially just an underline to make it distinct from the rest. So we've seen couple of all this, and then there are a couple of other ones that is worth mentioning. We have superscript and of course a subscript. So for instance, if you are an engineer, a mathematician, or a researcher, and then you're making a document, and then you want to write something like H2O. So for some of you who might be scientists, what H2O means is water. Alright, so you have this H2O right here, water, but this is not, the two is not supposed to be on the same level as H, so it's supposed to go down a little bit. That's to show you that 2 is subsided, so it's a subscript of H to make it an hydrogen. Okay, so to do that, I would have to use a tag called sub, S-U-B, that's subscript. So the subscript, I make 2 a subscript of that. So when I save that and then I refresh, so I can see 2 going down a little bit. So these are your write subscript. So if you need to write equations, if you're making a web page for scientists, chemists and all of that, so you want to write some equation in chemistry, and and you're looking like you have to go and make an image and be bringing in images. That's a way to do it, but the right way to do it would be to write it yourself, and you're able to write it. So for instance, if I want to write water plus, let's say sodium chloride, let me write H2SO4, H2SO, H2SO4. Alright, so H2SO4 for scientists, you know that this is sulfuric acid, what they call sulfuric acid. Alright, so this is not to bore those that are not scientists, but this is to show us that we can write subscript in HTML as well. Alright, so H is similar to the H2O. This is supposed to be a subscript. It's supposed to be subscript. Ctrl X. This is supposed to be a subscript. And then also SO4. 4 is supposed to be a subscript of oxygen, of O. So I can have SUB like this. So this comes in here like that. So if you have this written, so you'll see that you have something like that. So H2SO4, this is looking good, and this is not an image, it's a text. Okay, all right. So that's about the subscript. Another thing I want us to look at in formatting, in font formatting. These are pretty much some of the things you want to play around with your write-ups. All right, so let's say we want to write mathematical equations that have let's say x squared plus y squared equals to z squared. So if I save this and then I have this here, alright, so I need to make this go to the next line. So if you're just watching this, there's a tutorial before this, lesson 1. You need to go pick that up. These are will break lines. Okay, now so this goes to the next line. This is not my intention. My intention is 2 needs to go up a bit. It needs to go up a little bit. So you have 2 up, and then this 2 needs to go up a bit, and then this 2 needs to go up also a bit. Okay, so how do I do that? Is by using what we call a superscript. You can guess that. Superscript is SUP, and then you can have this Control X, then you have this like this superscript, and then you can have this SUP, and then you can have these 2 there like that. So the same way, you can have this as well, SUP, and then you can have this there like that. So this way you have it written properly. So this is the right way of writing it. This is your intention. This is what you want to have. So don't just do, let me just deal with it. So x2, I'm just okay like that. So you're not okay. You have to write it this way. This is not an image, is a text, so you can have it highlighted. So in this session we've been able to introduce ourselves to font formatting, playing around with fonts. In the first lecture we showed ourselves how to change font size, font color as well. Okay, so I think we haven't changed font styles, so let's see how we can change font style. So it's very similar to what we've done earlier on. If you want to change the property of a font, what you want to change will be like its color, its size, and pretty much its style. Maybe change it from area to Tahoma, name all the fonts, font styles. So how do you do that? Very simple. So let's say I want to change the font style of this. Pretty much you can change the style of anything at all. So if I want to change the style of this H1, it means if something else is in the H1, not only the U is going to be talking to them, just like this is talking to this. So if I want to change the font style of only the underlined the text, I can just come here and say style equals to, then I have font style or font family. Font family, that's the name for the font styles. So font family, if I have this, so I have a whole lot of font families, Arial, vertical, sans serif, like that. And then if you have more fonts, you can just get fonts installed, so you can have them show up. So let's say I change this to this, so it's going to be distinct from the rest. So if I have that, so you can see that that changes to the new font. I think that's horrible. Let me change it to something else. I don't like that. I don't like that. So I'm going to be changing the font family to something else. Uh, Let me say this. Let's see how it looks better. Alright, so we've been able to change the font styles of text. We've learned bold, and then we learned strong. This is small. This is smaller than the rest, so it's a small tag. And then we learn italics. We use italics around this one. And then we learned emphasize. That's hem. So it was emphasized hem that was used around this one. So pretty much they produce the same results, but there is some sort of importance that is attached to this that makes it different a little bit from this. All right. So another thing that we did was to introduce ourselves to deleted, so that's DL, and then this one was inserted that we used to get this out, and this one is a mark. So if you need to highlight some things, without having to go there to put the style and give a background color, so you can have this. And then I think this one equally we use small here. This is smaller text compared to the rest, and we have this as inserted as well. And down here we learned how to play around with equation using Subscript and Superscript. Alright, so basically these are some of the formattings that I want us to take note of. We'll need them a whole lot going forward. So that is that. Now join me in lesson 3.